Hello and welcome to this week's Invisible Not Broken. This is a special interview. It was done a while ago and I really have to apologize that I have not released it sooner. Things have been a little crazy over here and we're running a few months ahead with the interviews, but I am so excited to bring this to you.
Georgiana, and I suffer from various illnesses such as lupus, fibromyalgia, Hepatitis B, functional neurological disorder, and PTSD and depression.
Okay, we have so much to unpack there. I love that all of us are like spoonies are just like, okay, so this is what I have, and this, and this, and this, and this, and then our medical files look like War and Peace.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah.
The one that I don't know what it is in there was the neurological. What was the neurological
functional
one?
neurological disorder.
Okay.
Yeah. So, it's when for me it happened. They're non-epileptic seizures, and they can be brought on by severe stress of the body or of the brain. And they started, I only just got diagnosed last year, so 2017. I was very stressed out and I developed PTSD while I was writing my autobiography. And I was in a very toxic environment. And so my brain couldn't handle all the shit that was going on, basically. And what they do is they cause me to stop functioning, as in the brain's pathways don't go straight to like limbs. And so for 6 weeks, I couldn't walk because I knew how to walk. It was just, my brain couldn't tell my limb to walk. You kind of understand that?
I think I do. So what you're saying is your brain is saying walk, move, and your legs are like, oh, there's nothing coming in. What do you mean walk and move? Is that about it?
Basically.
The legs just aren't getting the message from the brain?
Yeah, that is.
Okay, wow. Mm-hmm. That is insane. So how did they diagnose that? And I mean, you're in New Zealand, is that right? Which country are you in? What country are you in?
I'm in New Zealand.
Yeah, so you guys have you have real healthcare, or at least healthcare that's accessible. Yeah. What was it like to get diagnosed with that one? We'll go through all the other ones in a minute, but whenever it's neurological and you're dealing with these questions, doctors, at least the ones I know, it can be a little hard to get the diagnosis when you're talking about something that's not visible.
Yeah. I wasn't able to accept that I had a new disorder. So I tried to speak to my rheumatologists and say, this is a lupus flare-up, and it's attacking my brain, which is not it's not new. But they did all the tests and everything and all the blood tests, and they all came, my lupus was stable. So they're like, it's not lupus. It's actually, you've developed a new disorder.
That is overachiever of your body. Like, no, all of these, what's not enough. Let's just keep going with this.
Yeah, that's basically what I said.
It's just not fair. You have to laugh when it's this unfair.
I know, right? I know. So I guess that's it. There's no actual proper test that defines kind of the illness. It's a combination of everything. And once I started seeing a psychologist and psychiatrist, they were both very on the side. Yeah, you've got this new disorder. So I was just like, oh, okay, I guess I got another disorder now. Woohoo!
One more to add to the list. It's just great when you can just
I wanted to add, I'm like trying this thing of wanting to get as many illnesses as possible I can get. Yeah.
Non-spoonies, they try to get as many like passport stamps in their passport. Spoonies, we're just trying to get as many stamps of like, that's wonderful. Yeah. So, lupus, that is one of these, it's a lot like MS when it's just the system-wide, like everything.
Yeah. So, I was going to ask, have you read my illnesses, but do you want me to really explain how lupus affects me?
Absolutely, because lupus affects different people in very different ways, and this is also for everyone who might not know what lupus is.
Sure, yeah. So lupus is an autoimmune illness, and systemic means the whole body, so I have systemic lupus. And for me, lupus has attacked my lungs, my heart, where I had to have 2 valve replacements, my blood, so I have a lupus-induced blood clotting disorder, and I also suffer from lupus-induced eczema, which is awesome because I scratch myself all the time, so yeah, that's fun. And also just fatigue is a real big thing for me. So hence the reason I chose to become a writer, so I can write from my bed. As you can see, I'm just lying on my pillows.
It does look comfy.
Yeah, it is very comfy. Yeah, it's really crap weather at the moment, so I'm in my little room, and the warmth and things like that. So I don't have to go. Well, I've got to go out do some appointments, but so sorry. Getting back to lupus, my hair fell out when I was first diagnosed, just a little bit.
And when did you get first diagnosed?
Oh, so I was 12 or 11, 12, and I had my first symptoms were chest pain and excess fluid around my joints. So I had arthritis, like I had the symptoms of arthritis, and I went into the hospital, and they thought I had rheumatic fever. So lupus imitates other illnesses. And so at that time it was imitating rheumatic fever, which is common in New Zealand because of the housing situations, not being warm enough. So, it was pretty, it was almost touch and go there. So I had a whole lot of fluid around my heart, and it was drowning my heart slowly and my lungs. And I had about half an hour to live, and they had to rush me into another hospital, get me there, and then they had to insert.
So did they have
a lung drain?
Oi. And you were 12, and they were doing, so that's a really big needle that goes like right through the, like, think vampire staking.
They put me to sleep. Thank goodness.
Thank God.
Yeah, I know, because I've never been good with needles. And I know I need to be because I have millions and millions of blood tests, but I will never be able to, handle a needle going near me. So a lot of the time when they want to do procedures, I'm just like, just stop me out, please. It'll be less, issues for you, less issues for me. We'll all be happy and all that. So, yeah, sadly they don't just, knock adults out, which sucks.
Yeah, I want that. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
I am not highly evolved enough of an adult to handle all that pain. Just, let me sleep.
I know. What was I going to say? Oh, crud, I've forgotten.
No, this is the brain fog that happens with all these illnesses.
Yes.
So you were 12 years old. You had only a few minutes left to live, as they are putting you out to put this huge needle into you to, I'm guessing, alleviate the pressure around your heart and lungs. Is that right?
Yes.
Your parents must have been beside themselves.
Well, that's another story on top of everything else.
There's more. Oh my goodness. I just want to hug you. That is so much, especially at 12. And I have kids that age right now, and I can't imagine them dealing with this. You had to have been so... I can't even imagine how you were able to process all of that at 12.
I wasn't. And I like to say, I've said in my autobiography, which is called My Beautiful Trauma, which should be out either at the end of this year or beginning of next year. I have said that I was 26 when I actually kind of was able to accept that I had, this illness. And that was like a hospital visit to, I was like, I went to friends and stuff for Christmas. And 2 days after Christmas, I was in the hospital needing like antibiotics and stuff. And I just kind of sat there and was like, yeah, this is my life now. I have lupus. So, I wasn't able to accept that I was sick. Because one of the reasons, because as you'll read in my autobiography, my family didn't really allow me to process things. And, there is a grief process with whatever you're diagnosed with or whatever you go through. There's always some kind of process to actually be able to go, yeah, that happened to me, or yes, I have this illness, sort of thing.
That's such an important point, is that you have to be allowed a grieving process. What do you think that would have looked like for a 12-year-old? What could your parents have done better? Not to rag on parents. I don't want to rag on any parents. No. I'm just saying, like, for those of us who might have sick kids, what would you have rather had happen?
I think I would rather them do like research to actually know the illness from inside out, and to allow me to research. Maybe, I don't know, it doesn't work for everyone, but maybe some kind of support system or support network for other people who have similar illnesses. Like, I was the youngest to ever be diagnosed at that time with lupus. And that's why it was so hard for them to diagnose me. So I think I would have preferred more knowledge, or them actually using their brains to research more about what lupus was, because I ended up doing that myself, but I still didn't understand what it actually is and how it's going to affect me in the long run. And I remember going to my mum saying that, because I was having a hard time at home at that same time, and I said to Mum, anxiety and depression can be part of lupus, or is common for lupus patients, lupus sufferers. Actually, what word or what do you use? How do you describe yourself? Like, do you describe yourself as like a survivor or sufferer of an illness? Like, both sound kind of cheesy, but I'm just curious to know.
How would you? I like that. That's that depends on the day. That depends on the hour, actually. I can go from being... Sure. I have a very distinct public face and personality for people who I don't necessarily know well enough to show the darker side too. And for them, it's I get to hear the word inspiring quite a bit, but there's definite I know I come across really cheerful, but there are dark moments of the soul, and Kyrros can tell you all about them. Kyrros has watched me get very upset. My husband's seen it a few times, my parents maybe once or twice, but I have a hard time letting myself really do the grieving process. That's a scary one for me that I have not embraced yet. Mm-hmm. Someday. It's on my to-do list. It will happen. But I think it's incredibly... I love the idea that you're doing the autobiography. And by the way, the name of it is fantastic for autobiography or for a great punk band. That is a great name. And I'm so inspired by you because the looking inwards that you're doing with the autobiography, that's brave. I mean, I really do give you full credit.
Because of it, thank you. Because of it, I did develop a new disorder because I thought my autobiography wouldn't be enough without just another extra stuff on top, you know.
Just one more.
It just, add to the pile.
So I want to go back a little bit because 12 is amazing to me, and I don't know why, because I was sick from when I was 8, so I'm always interested in other people who had to be like in and out of hospitals and in and out of being stuck in bed as a kid. How did that work out for you with friends, socially, through like grade school, junior high, high school? How did you handle being chronically ill through like these times where everyone else is running around?
I remember for that first year I did correspondence school because I'd already missed, like I was in hospital for probably 6 months for the first like flare up. Correspondence school, but it didn't really like majorly affect me till later on in life. Maybe because I didn't allow it to, or I would push through a lot of it because I didn't want to be a sick person. It just didn't fancy me, you know.
That is a great way to phrase that, by the way. I'm loving that.
Thank you. And the people that raised me, I say that in commas, because they didn't, like when I'd have days of really bad arthritis, there were times actually back then that I would literally have to crawl to my bedroom and I would sleep in my clothes because I couldn't take them off because my fingers were so swollen. And I don't know if you can see, but I'll show you my arthritic. They call them arthritic fingers or hands. Can you see like the big swelling?
I absolutely can see that swelling. That is.
Yeah. So
that is visible.
That's normal for me.
Okay, so you're going to actually make me put this up on the YouTube channel now. So I'm actually pretty glad my daughter convinced me to brush my hair for this interview because I usually do this in my pajamas and no makeup. But she did convince me to get my hair. So this will go up on YouTube. And
oh, wow.
If you're going to show me the fingers, I've got to show everyone else.
Yeah, okay.
Unless you don't want me to. If you do not want me to, I will. Either, but I think you look darling, but that's my opinion.
Thank you.
So, with friends, were you able to? I understand that you were not getting the physical support you needed while you were a kid, but were you getting any support from friends? Were you able to be around other kids your own age?
After that first year, yes, but for like a year. But then, because everything got kind of uplifted, like my life. I didn't have many friends growing up. I was seen as kind of weird. And also, I think because I had a lot going on as well, not just being sick, but all that other family shit that happened. So I didn't really know how, or wasn't given a good platform to kind of learn ways of dealing with what was happening to me and how to tell other kids, kind of thing. Because I remember some going, "What's wrong with you? Why are you so, like, why don't you come to school?" And I didn't really know the answer at that time. I think because I wasn't allowed to say that I'm sick, kind of thing. It was like a frowned upon thing to just tell people that you're sick. Like, but as I've got older, I'm just like, yeah, I've got this and this and this. And also, actually, fast forward so many years. So the lupus attacked my mitral and aortic valve in the heart, and I had to get both replaced. And there was this whole discussion of whether I'd get pig valves.
Oh, wow. I've heard of those. Those are crazy. You get the other
valves. So pig valves for someone with lupus can have the issue of lupus reattacking the valves again, or your body rejecting them. So they decided to go for mechanical. But because I have a genetic blood clotting disorder, as well as a lupus-induced blood clotting disorder, and now mechanical valves, I have to be on warfarin, which is a blood thinner, and is probably one of the most harshest drugs out there, because it's got like traces of rat poison in it. And so
one second, just give everyone who does not know what this is, what the side effects are for warfarin.
Okay, so my blood has to be a lot more runnier than, say, you or a normal person in kind of commas. So I bleed a lot more easily, but the mechanical valves cause blood clots, and so I have the risk of bleeding heaps. And I also have the risk of clotting. And if I don't get my international ratio checked, which is the time your blood clots. So an example of that is for other people that don't have all the issues I have, their blood clotting time is 1. Whereas my blood clotting time has to be between 3.5 and 4.
Okay, so I'm going to guess that this really changes quite a few things for you with having to avoid getting cut.
Yep. And when I bruise so easily by doing nothing, basically. I always get like new bruises. Basically, every once a week or several times a week, I'm like, I didn't know I had that bruise, or another bruise, kind of thing. So it can, like, if you let it can really decrease your kind of your body image and how you feel within yourself. But luckily, I kind of went the other way and was like, I'm going to own it, kind of thing. I have bruises, whoop, kind of thing. So, there's always the one thing I think is important to say is there's always a choice of how you let your the illnesses that you have kind of affect you, sort of thing. Like, I mean, it's important to go through the grieving process, but it's also what can you do with the knowledge of your illnesses, or what can you do with having all these illnesses? Like, can you use it to, say, start a blog or write a book or something kind of like that? Do you get what I'm saying?
I so get what you're saying. I went from being a jeweler to being a photographer to being too sick to do that to starting this podcast. No, I understand the I'm too sick to do this, so what's next?
Yeah.
So I have a question for you, because I'm actually dealing with it myself. With all the things you have and with all the medications you're on, how do you handle like new symptoms? Because I'm lucky enough to have like a big group of people to ask questions of, but it's always like, okay, is this a new symptom? Is this a new side effect? Is this a new disorder? Like, how do you have so many you're dealing with? How do you possibly, if you have something new, how do you figure it out?
Well, not to blow my own horn, but I think I'm not dumb. Like, I know you are basically your own doctor, as they say, because you seem to. Well, I'm very aware of like my body's reactions to things, and I actually, this is probably a good place to, I'll share this with you. So back in 2014, I got really sick and no one knew what was wrong with me. And I started getting sores all over my body. And I was like, oh, something is wrong within me. But the doctors didn't know what. And they were like, it's not lupus because your lupus is stable. And I was like, test for all my other issues. And for a whole year, I'd go back and forth to the hospital going, there is something wrong. You need to admit me and you need to do all these bloods. And luckily, I'm not afraid to be assertive. And I think it's a problem if you're afraid to actually go, hang on a minute, I think you're wrong there. I know my body more than you. So, and it wasn't until November of the year, so the end of the year, that they did this one blood test, which tested my hepatitis levels. And they found out that I was having a flare of my hepatitis. And that took a whole year, but I was determined to not give up. And that was like, I think, the last admittance, and they put me on drugs, and I was like, this could have happened at the beginning of the year. But I noticed I really was very aware, and am aware of my own body. And also I like to research. I mean, some people don't, because Google can tell you're having cancer when it's not cancer. But, I guess you can pick and choose and look at your symptoms, and if there's something, if I feel there's something wrong, I do go to the doctor. And sometimes I'm wrong. Sometimes it could just be the weather. It could be my fatigue levels and all that sort of stuff. So, I think you have to be vigilant, I guess, is you have to be vigilant with yourself.
I will throw one more wrench into that, because I'm here in the United States, where if we go to the hospital, we could end up in bankruptcy, or there's a lot of us who cannot afford to see the specialists we need to see or the medicine we need to take. And New Zealand, you're socialized medicine, is that right?
Sorry, say that again.
Do you have to pay when you go to the hospital or the doctor?
To the GP, so the general practitioner.
Okay.
Yes, we do. Although, if you're sick, like me, we do get called a long-term plan or something, as in you don't have to pay for your doctor visits. You get to see them for free if you are a regular. So, yeah, I was very fortunate I guess I am very fortunate to kind of be like, I can see my doctor whenever. And sorry, I didn't think about you, and you're in America. That must be really hard.
It is. I always bring this up in each episode, so everyone has gotten pretty used to it. But I am going to keep doing it until the United States becomes more humane. And I almost went bankrupt just from hospital bills. So it's. I went to the emergency room and ended up with this $15,000 CT scan, and I had insurance, which I was paying $700 a month for, and they still would not cover it because they had done it thinking I had an appendicitis, and since it was an ovarian cyst and not an appendicitis, the insurance wouldn't cover it. So these are the things that Americans deal with going to the hospital. Even if they have insurance, they could end up with 15, 20, even $100,000 in bills. And my father, who has a chronic illness, his treatment costs almost $100,000 per treatment.
Oh my goodness!
So maybe it's $100,000 per 3 or 4 months. But anyway, if he didn't have the insurance he has, they wouldn't be able to keep their house. Like, these are the things that Americans are dealing with. And so when people get annoyed at me for talking about this all the time, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm actually in a good position compared to other people. And even in the good position I'm in, I won't go to the hospital because I'm afraid of the bill.
Oh, that's so bad.
I mean, it's so important to talk to everyone who has medicine that is doing well in other countries, because we get told a lot of BS over here about what socialized medicine is like in other countries. So I am just doing my little part that, no, it's not ideal, but it's a lot more ideal than people going bankrupt.
Yeah. Oh, that sucks. I mean,
yes.
Not rub it in, but I'm so thankful that I'm not,
Not in America. Yes, be very thankful you are not here right now.
Yeah.
We are all very scared at the moment. Anyway, I will get off of my soapbox because I do it way too often. And I wanted to circle back around because, oh my goodness, we're almost like running low on time. And I want to talk a little bit about what your everyday life is like, because you put down that you have been a youth worker, and I don't know what that is. Yeah,
so a youth worker is kind of like a social worker.
Oh, okay.
However, it's less paperwork and more actually hanging out with the person or with the young person, and just, getting to know them. But you don't have to, go back to the government and write up a massive story about how they're doing.
What an amazing job. I'm a little jealous. That sounds wonderful.
It was awesome. It was really awesome, but sadly I can't do that anymore because that was sorry, I missed out one thing. I had a stroke when I was 22. So I'm a little bit disabled now. I had a stroke from a blood clot that formed in my heart and went to my brain.
Now, what was that like? Because I imagine that when you're talking to other people who have strokes, you're not talking to other 22-year-olds.
No. I think in New Zealand, I think, there's where I live, there's this stroke support group, and it's called Young Stroke Support, and the youngest was 40.
Wow.
Yeah. But there's just been news that a young 8-year-old or something had a stroke.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I think it's the food that, all the genetically modified food and all that kind of stuff.
For strokes?
Yeah. Sorry?
For strokes?
It's like to have a stroke, like, can cause a stroke.
Oh.
Because it's really fatty and sugary and not nutritious for the body.
So with everything you've been dealing with, how mobile are you? How able are you to get outside and move around? Are you able to get outside, move around, drive by yourself?
I don't drive, and I've never been able to drive anyway, so never got around to it. I can walk. At times I need a support stick or my walking stick. Yeah.
So how is your social life? How are you able to get out to meet people, or do people come to you?
Yeah. I can go places, and a lot of the time I prefer people to come to me. And they're usually pretty good because they know me well, most of them, because I don't really I do meet new people, but usually I have an ability to be quite assertive and just say how I'm feeling, and say if it's not gonna work or anything, then just don't even kind of try. Just say, nah, can't do this, because I feel that in order to be able to be a good person, you have to you have to listen to yourself, listen to your body, because you're actually no use when you're really tired and grumpy and just want to go to bed. That's just not kind of the coolest person to be around. If you get, yeah.
I don't know. I feel like that about 90% of the time.
Oh.
So we are actually heading to almost the end of our time, and really enjoyed talking to you. Is there anything that you would like to say before we finish the interview?
Well, I'd like to do some self-promoting, if that's
Please self-promote, and when your book is out, I want you to absolutely email me, and we'll do a whole little social media push of your book.
That would be awesome.
Oh, I'd be so happy to.
Yes. Well, I have my own blog and website. It's called My Beautiful Trauma. And can I say the actual website?
You absolutely can, but we're also going to link it in the show notes. So if you are listening and you want to read this, just go over to our website, invisiblenotbroken.com, and right there in the podcast, you could just click on this episode, and all of it will be linked right at the very top. Thank you so much for listening to this week's Invisible Not Broken. We are so grateful for all of you, and the reason that we have gotten the amazing and humbling numbers of downloads are because you have shared us. We don't advertise. I just have to say how grateful I am. If you want to do something really nice for us, please share us with friends, family, anyone you would like to understand these disorders or just what it's like to be chronically ill better. You can also share us with any support groups you're a part of. That would be wonderful as well. You can head over to our iTunes. It's still the best place to leave an embarrassingly nice review about us and to hit that subscribe button. Another thing that we've been working on is it's very expensive to be sick in America. And it would be wonderful if you can, and if you are willing to be a part of our Patreon community. All of our content will be free. I'm never going to charge for content, but there are some really cool things that you can get as prizes for signing up, and we would really appreciate the support. Thank you so much. Please tune in next week. We have another exciting episode for you then. Until then, be kind, be gentle, and be a badass.